KFIZ News Time. It is 8:10. Welcome to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Patty. Phone lines are open for any and all of your landscaping and gardening questions, so shoot us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't give us a call? You can shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. Ron, Patty, good morning on this steamy Saturday morning.
I think tomorrow might be even steamier.
Yeah, it's going to be really sticky tomorrow.
Well, we wanted summer and it's here.
Yeah, it is here, and it's loudly announced that it is here.
I just got done with a garden tour at my house for the master gardeners and friends.
Oh, very nice.
People from the extension. So it was fun. Everything looks really good right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm just waiting for all the insects and disease to not happen, but
right. I may have some questions on some of that here down the road, but we actually looks like we already have a caller here, so we'll actually just turn to the phone lines immediately. You're on Landscape Smart. Go ahead with your name and question.
Yes, good morning. This is Linda.
Hi,
I
Linda.
had called earlier about a fungus on my hollyhocks, so I cut the leaves off, and then I just cut the hollyhocks off because they look terrible. Is there something I can put in the ground so that fungus doesn't attack them next spring?
nope. Nothing's going to...
Sorry, that's not the answer you're probably hoping for.
The thing to do with hollyhocks is have them in an open area, not crowded by anything else. And early morning sun till midday for sure is always helpful to get the dew off the leaves early in the morning.
Okay.
So lots of air ventilation and early morning sunshine for a few hours.
So otherwise, it could possibly happen again next spring, I guess is what you're saying.
It happens to them
right.
every year.
So is it a matter of just trying to minimize it, Patty? Then?
Yeah, minimize it, thin them out, put them in a different area if you can. Get everything thinned out away from it so it's not blocking any of the ventilation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. Appreciate your program.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, yeah, and you still could, apply fungicides, but you'd have to be doing it already. Yeah, already back, the
right
late April already as they're just starting to come up, and then you have to be diligent about it every 10 days or every 2 weeks. Starting already back in.
Yeah, and then if
April.
It rains,
which is less of an if this summer so far.
Well, it's still, you have to, if you work with it, instead of just do nothing, you're going to have better results.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. It's still the conditions that you're fighting, but a fungicide, they work.
the physical things to do, though, that I mentioned is it helps the most, actually. The air ventilation.
Right. It takes all of those things to work together. You can't just, if you have a tough spot and you spray it every day with a fungicide, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you kind of work together with that, and that's where, you start out by putting things in the proper places. And then you go from there, and then if you have a tough summer, then you have to work with the fungicides then to control it. And it's pretty much too late now.
Right.
If by the time you're seeing the fungus, and by the time your flowering crabapples have no leaves and there's no leaves to spray with a fungicide, then it doesn't.
You're not doing anything.
You had to be doing this already back in. Well, as the leaves are first starting to appear, and every plant leaves out a little bit earlier or later, they're all different. So.
Right. And there's different varieties that are less susceptible, especially in like flowering crabs, but I don't know about hollyhocks. I think it's across the board. Hollyhocks get this. So it's just a matter of putting them in the proper spot.
And I'd imagine this year is probably even more prevalent with the amount of rain we've gotten.
Very much.
Yeah. All right, I tell you what, phone lines are lighting up, so we'll return right back to the phones. You're on Landscape Smart with Ron and Patty. You have a question?
Hi, yes. This is Gladys from Petita, and I'm having problems with my cucumbers.
Oh.
I have all male blossoms only. I Googled a video on it, and they said it's because of lack of bees that aren't pollinating. And so I tried what they told me to do. They said take either a Q-tip or a small paintbrush and try to go into the pollen from the male blossom and feed it into the female. Well, I'm not having any success. Is there any other suggestions?
Well, if you're not having female, how can you pollinate it?
Well, that's what I mean. Well, that's what she kind of tried to show me, and she even had a hard time on her big, patch of them trying to find the female. So I don't know.
I think maybe the heat is maybe wreaking havoc with the, cucumbers and whatever, not doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
I had the same problem with the zucchini earlier, but then all of a sudden now I have a few zucchini. They're all in raised beds, though. I rent, so I don't have a big garden.
Sure, yeah. I think you're just going to have to let Mother Nature take its course, but...
So will there eventually
Yeah, I
because
think
there's
so.
still, there's blossoms coming all the time.
Yeah.
But then I finally, the other day, found a real small pickle, started this morning. I went out to water,
There you
and
go.
it dried off.
Well,
Do
I
I
don't know.
overwater? I water a little bit every morning.
no, don't do it that
No.
way. No.
Don't do it that way?
No, do a heavy soaker once a week if we don't get any rain.
Really?
Yep, that's all. I don't even water my garden. I just
Well, see, I'm
have
not
it
out
mulched.
in the open. I have an overhang. I have like a little. It's on my patio. It's on my back patio, and I have a
Oh.
little roof over it. So don't get any natural rain.
Okay, well then just once a week we'll have heavy
Oh, really?
soaking.
Okay.
Like if you have a soaker hose, that's perfect.
Okay, I'll have to
You
give
might
that
have
a
to do
try
it a
once
little
week.
more
Here
than
I
once
thought
a-
by watering a little bit every morning because they always look very, very dry.
Yeah.
You might have to do it more than once a week too if it's a raised bed and it's
It
not
is a
getting-
raised bed, yeah.
So, but still, the worst thing you can do almost on any plant is
Yeah.
water it every day.
Yeah, that's
Oh, really?
That's
So,
very bad for them.
I guess maybe try to get to every 3 days or something, and if it's not working, then
Even if they look really, really dry?
Yeah, that's
well, you
just
got to get them soaked good.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of your problems is that when you're watering every day, the roots are just right there at the surface. If you let plants dry out a little bit, they'll reach down and look for more moisture. And then
Okay.
when you water them, and this is, it doesn't matter if it's a maple tree,
yeah,
a
everything.
a
Right, anything.
cucumber or a begonia. You have to water the entire root system. So,
So when you water like that, it's only watering the top quarter inch, and that's where the roots are
Okay.
going to stay.
Okay.
So you
I'll
want it
have
to dry
change
out
that.
dry out in between, and you'll have to kind of find the happy. It depends on your, the makeup composition of your soil.
Right, yeah, because I do.
You
I
might
have,
to.
I have some beans in a pot. They're actually, I picked my first bean off of them this morning, and they're in small pots, but
Wow.
they're really doing good. The tomatoes are doing good, the cherry tomatoes and
Can I
things. And they're all in small pots because I don't have.
Yeah. Can I recommend that you add a light, inch or two of mulch on the top of the soil?
Okay.
That would help tremendously.
Okay, that would be a good idea. I'll have to go somewhere and get some then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed the program very much.
You're welcome.
Excellent.
Never
Thank you for
miss
the
it.
call.
So,
Bye.
Yeah, the mulch helps preserve the moisture too.
Yeah.
And it moderates the soil temperatures. When we start getting into these hot days, it keeps the roots cool on the plants.
Yep.
So, but you gotta, if you're watering anything every day, it's probably too often.
It is.
You want to, start by every other day or every third day, or if you can get to once a week. And I don't know that you'll ever get to once a week in a raised garden,
container, yeah.
or a container, but more water less often is the key to having
good plant health.
to good that's
right. Any plant,
plant.
like you said, any plant, because like I would imagine what's happening is that only the top portion of the soil is getting soaked. Therefore, the plant has no reason to have its roots start digging down deeper, which is what you want, because
that's the science of it.
Yes. So when you soak it, that water gets down to the bottom, which is going to dry out less fast, which the plant will go seeking said water.
Yep.
And it's just, that's kind of when if you look out your window and see what a typical weather pattern is, and the trees and the ferns and the plants out in the woods that have been there for, hundreds, thousands of years, the way they've survived is it generally rains, maybe once every 5 days or once every 10 days.
Right.
It doesn't rain
every day.
Every day. I mean, now if you're in
the Amazon,
or
during monsoon season,
or down in the Caribbean where it does rain every day, or
Florida,
that's different. But you're trying to grow plants in Wisconsin, and you have to kind of emulate the Wisconsin weather patterns,
right.
And that's rain. It only waters about once every 5 days or once every 10 days typically. This year was a little bit different. But
the average has definitely been up this year, but but that's that you're going to have that right from year on to year out. Yep. So don't go anywhere, as we'll take our first break as you're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
Rademann's is open today. We kind of forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. Open till noon today, just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac. And you can take Highway 41 south, and we're just to the east on County Trunk B.
And welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Patty. Phone lines are open for any and all of your landscaping and gardening questions, so shoot us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. You can't shoot us a call, you can give us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. It's pretty pertinent that we were discussing some things like mildew, mold, and all that, because I have 2 chicks and hens up front. I have them in like little pots, like they're little animal shaped. They don't get a lot of sun, and I'm wondering if that's what's causing them to kind of, they were growing out extensively from the pot, which is what I wanted.
Yeah.
But now these 2 seem to they're kind of getting a little almost like slimy, and it kind of falls apart. And then at the base where they're at the soil, the top of the pot, it's browning, and like that brownness is almost like rising up it. I meant to take a picture. I've had a crazy busy week.
I think they're dead.
That's my fear. Yeah.
That is not good.
So my question more so is, because like I said, I think that, like you said, I think they're dead, is what can I do to prevent that? Is it because those 2 we have 5 pots in total, all with chicks and hens. Now 3 are thriving.
Okay.
We have 6, 4 are thriving. I apologize.
Okay.
Those 2 definitely are pretty much shade all day. Was that probably, to kind of go back to what you were talking about, airflow / sun?
Well,
was that with all the moisture we've had this year? I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
Well, are they out where it gets the natural rain?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was shade plus rain for that is
okay.
Death warrant.
Okay. Yep. The other ones would have. 2 are actually would be my back area, so which faces west, so they get plenty of morning sun.
Yeah.
So they get dried out,
Yeah.
pretty easily.
That would The key for any kind of a succulent like that is if it does get wet, it should have such well drained soil that it dries out, in a day for sure.
Okay.
If it stays
they don't
wet.
like a lot of moisture to begin with, and if you're as much rain as we've been having, and you put that together with a shady environment that it isn't
drying off,
off, and you like hens and chicks are, that's like Patty said, that's a succulent. That's more of a Arizona plant than a Wisconsin plant. So you need something a little more. I mean, they pretty much grow anywhere. They're probably one of the easiest to grow if you have just average conditions. You don't
Yeah.
need great conditions, but you can't have the wrong conditions either.
I like they're easy to grow, but yet you managed to kill 2 of them.
Well, if you combine the worst conditions for them, that
Right.
That'll do it.
Obviously, yeah. And so I just wanted I figured that was the issue when I was looking at them the other day, but I figured I'd still ask the experts.
that's
And
okay.
I was correct. So now I know what to do going forward.
Yeah. If the other ones are doing well, take some pieces off and dump those other ones and just repot them in some nice,
Yeah.
well mixed. I would do like more of a gravelly cactus type soil
Oh, okay.
in a
I'd put
pot.
something else in there.
Oh well.
Well, there's that too. Especially if I want to leave the pots in the same spot, then I
Yeah.
would want to
Right.
put something else in there.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
You could do. There's a lot of other great plants that
In the shade.
like those conditions. So instead of trying to put a square peg in a round
Right.
hole,
Yeah.
go find a square peg.
To fit the square hole.
Right. And that's the general rule with plants. You have to pick your spot first. Once you have your spot picked, then go find the plant. You can't just go buy a plant and put it where you want it.
Yep.
You have to, work with the spot that you're working with.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
And
let's
that narrows it, because otherwise you are fighting, the fungus problems, the shade problems. And I want to kind of go back on that fungicide thing here just kind of briefly yet too, because if you have been spraying fungicides regularly, during late May and June here, you should still continue with those, because, well, if you have been applying fungicides regularly, your plants have leaves, even though and then you still have to maintain them. If you have no leaves and you've lost the leaves, then it's too late.
Yeah.
So there's kind of 2 rules on applying fungicides here in mid and late July. And the first one is it's not the time to start, but it is a good time to. It is still
keep
the right
going.
time to
Yeah.
keep going. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit, because if you're listening and you're thinking, oh, it's too late to apply a fungicide, well, it may or may not be, depending on the pattern that
you've
established. Right. So if you have been applying fungicides, you have to keep it up for at least one more application here, which will almost take you through the end of July. And then once we get into August, you probably don't have to worry about it so much. But we're still in a hot,
Humid.
Yeah.
and semi, there's 30-40% chance of thunderstorms, showers, 4
Most
or
days.
5 out of the next 10 days.
Yep.
So we're going to probably continue into this pattern. We're not getting that high pressure, hot, July, August that we see sometimes.
Right.
We're still more in a almost more of a May, June pattern than a July, August
Yeah,
pattern.
you're right.
Where the high pressure kind of settles in over us, and we get 5, 6, 7, 8 days of just 0% chance of rain. So
I want to expand on something, because you were talking about, I want to go back, you're talking about, you want to look at your location first before selecting the plant. Great advice. And this, of course, this is for both of you. So what are some parameters then that you would look at a location? So, obviously.
Morning sun or afternoon sun.
Okay, you know what I'm asking.
Or how many hours.
Yep.
Even. Shade or semi-shade. Those are both
I'd
quite a
imagine
bit
they're big.
different.
Yeah.
Quite a bit different. And how much moisture it gets or no, doesn't get. If it's under an eave where it stays fairly dry, that's a good place for succulents and those type of plants.
Right.
But I have a yucca plant that was totally tired of all the rain, and it shot up, and it's right out in the open. So it shot up its flower stems this year, which get 6 or 7 feet tall.
Wow.
And then it said, "That's too much rain. I'm done." And it broke. They broke off.
Just too tall?
Too much wetness. The roots couldn't support it anymore because it was too wet.
Okay.
So you gotta consider average year rainfall, which is not going to hurt a yucca plant, but this year it did. So
right.
Well, and that's kind of in that succulent family again. Right. And I actually have a yucca in my yard, but it's on the top of a berm. Right. So it stays, even if it is raining regularly, it's not puddling up, and then you're not getting that, like Patty said, where it would literally kind of rot and tip right over it starts out good and healthy, but I mean, mine looks great right now. And it is about 7 feet this year, probably the tallest flower spike I've ever seen on it. So
they're pretty spectacular when they flower. And they're like every other year flower. So it'll flower and then it'll send up offshoots, and then the next year the offshoots will flower.
Oh, okay.
It's really kind of cool.
Neat.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those plants that was real popular 30, 40, 50 years ago, let's just say, when they first, because it's such a different texture. Yeah. And now you don't see them as often,
No, yeah, I guess you don't. I'm trying to think of, because, one thing that I don't know if I mentioned last week, we got a new puppy. Oh. We got a new healer puppy, which means lots of walks. I mean, puppy means lots of walks, but healer puppy means lots of extra walks. Like, we're usually trying to average 4 a day. We need to get a herding ball too. But part of fun of going on the walks is going through the neighborhood, and you sit there and look at all the houses and see what people do with their landscaping and stuff like that, and you get ideas and whatnot. So it's funny that it's one house. It's so funny we're talking about succulents. In one house, they clearly just said, I don't want to have to do a lot of work, so they just put a whole cactus garden right out front of their house.
That's cool.
It is. And it used a lot of that, more of that gravelly, like you mentioned, that I could use if I wanted to keep succulents in those pots.
Yeah, the well draining part of the whole deal. That's very important for a succulent garden.
Gotcha. And obviously, then some of my other ones, it hasn't been an issue because, like I said, they're absolutely thriving. And then we'll take a quick break. Sorry, tell you what, we'll do that. But I do have a question that I want to ask you guys when we come back from the break. So we'll tease our audience with that. So don't go anywhere as you're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
So I just heard from Joe out at Rademann's. They have a couple openings for deliveries here today, so you could give them a call and still get a delivery yet for today, 920-922-7612.
Welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Hinker, and joined by Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Patty. If you have any landscaping or gardening questions, shoot us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't give us a call? Shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. And actually, speaking of the phones, we're going to go right to the phone lines. You're on Landscape Smart with Ron and Patty. You have a question?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I might have missed this, but at the end of the season, do you cut the yucca down?
No. The flowering stalk I do. But
that's what I meant, the flowering stalk.
Of course, yeah.
I usually cut mine off already, like in August, once the flowers go away, because then it's trying to produce seeds.
Yeah,
And so I like taking that stalk right off completely, and then as some of those bottom leaves dry up and yellow up, kind of clean those up too.
Sure.
And you can do that anytime, but you almost always have to do some cleanup on those in the spring.
Yeah, mine is just beautiful this year.
Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. You must have a spot that didn't get totally wet.
Yeah, we have more of a sandy soil. We live in Manitowoc County, and we have black sandy soil.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's probably perfect for it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I really enjoy your show.
Excellent. Thank you for the call.
Bye now.
Bye.
Yeah, that's kind of a good point too, because we get people listening from further out, and it's different.
different soils.
Different soils
Absolutely.
again, and yuccas do like it a little, either on a berm or sandy or gravelly, or they don't really like good soil.
No.
Which is an odd thing for most plants. You think like, I want really good soil, and yucca's like, nah, I'm good. I want that trash.
Right, they like it more sandy, gravelly.
They just want to take a trip to the beach.
Yeah.
You have to dig the good soil out and replace it with poor soil when you're planting a yucca.
Yeah. Scrape some gravel out of your driveway and throw it in the potties, the soil.
So
that probably wouldn't. Then you're high lime then. So that's probably not a good idea. But
yeah.
So I have another question for you guys. I have a tomato plant, and some of the tomatoes seem to have like split and fallen off early. I think 2 have done it now. A bunch of new ones are springing up, which is great on there. I'm new to tomato plants, so my question is, what happened, and what can I do to prevent that from happening going forward?
Well, there's probably nothing you can do to prevent it because it's because of some heavy rains that we've had within the last few weeks.
Okay, so I can't shout at the sky and tell it to stop raining?
It doesn't work.
Damn.
But if you have your plants mulched, that helps keep the soil more evenly moist, where it's not really, really wet and then really, really dry.
Okay.
And that's always a better way to grow a tomato plant or all your vegetable garden, really, because
you're regulating
even moisture, not heavy wet and then heavy and then totally dry.
I'd imagine
moderates the soil temperatures too.
Yeah.
So, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
because it doesn't heat up so hot during the 2 or 3 hot days that we have, and then it cools down at night. And if you can keep your soil temperatures even, just like the moisture level even, that's what plants. Again, it's just kind of a good rule on everything. But it's more important on some things than others too. Some plants are more, an oak tree wouldn't be, because it's got a deeper root system, isn't quite as vulnerable as a maple would be because it has a shallower root system, for example. But those are just that's good. I'm going to kind of digress right into another thing here right now, because I was actually at a friend's neighbor's yard earlier this week, and they have a maple that's looks beautiful, beautiful lime yellow.
Oh my goodness! Is that on purpose?
Well, and that's kind of what I told him. I says, it looks great, but it's not really good for the plant, because what it's telling you is that it needs sulfur, it needs iron, because if the leaves are limey green when they should be rich dark green, and you'll actually see this a little bit on some hydrangeas and birch, and
terrible this year, the hydrangeas.
And it's kind of brought on when you get a lot more rain, and so you have to now. Every plant is a little more vulnerable or more susceptible, let's just say, to these problems. But if you've got a oak or a maple or a birch or your hydrangeas or anything, like that, that's showing where you can see those green veins, and it starts showing up mostly here right now during July and August, you need to be treating those with it's kind of best to use a cocktail, a different blend of some different things, depending on what you're really working with. You could use aluminum sulfate that lowers the soil pH. They also need sulfur, and iron isn't always taken up by the plant if the soil pH is too high. So you have to get that by adding a sulfur iron fertilizer. The sulfur lowers the soil pH, and then it's able to take in the iron.
Is that like Muir acid?
Right, Muir acid or Miracle Grow with iron.
Yeah.
Typically those products have that, and it's a great time to be doing those here right now in July. And we've had enough moisture, so it's okay. You should still do it, and then if it isn't raining, then water it in, soak it in good.
Yeah.
But you have to do these things already here now you aren't going to, if the leaves are yellow, they're not going to turn green overnight. Matter of fact, they're not going to change at all, but hopefully your new growth when it comes on is a darker green than the limey green, and you aren't going to get it to change just to the darkest green overnight either. Mm-hmm. It might take next year, might take 2 years, might take 3 years. If you've got a older, deeper rooted plant, it works quicker on maples because they're surface rooted. It takes longer on oaks because they're deeper rooted. It's just, but all of them every area is different, but we do see it a little bit more in the Fond du Lac area or in our area because of the high lime.
Would it be a good idea to do like once every 10 days an application?
No, you wouldn't really need to do it that often.
Okay.
But, you could do it once or twice here yet this year, usually about 3 weeks apart, and that's about it, because as we start getting to the middle of August, you can't be using Miracle Grow or any of those water-soluble fertilizer products. And we have iron sulfate available out at Rademann's and the different things that you can use to kind of combat all these things. And it's generally it's not a quick fix.
No.
But you have to get started
now. Yesterday.
Yesterday. Last year would have been better. But your second best opportunity is right now, and then you have to continue with the program. And it's like with hydrangeas, you can probably just use something as simple as the Fertilome or the Miracle Grow products that have the iron and the sulfur in it.
Yeah. But trees is a whole
But trees are a little bit
yeah.
different because there you're working with a deeper, broader root system, where hydrangeas, 6 inches deep, 12 inches deep, and maybe a foot or two across. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it's not just, there's other plants too, but if you see that limey yellow
with
the green veins,
yep.
that's the key.
Yep.
The key indicator right there that your soil pH isn't proper for that plant.
Right.
So,
does this apply for vegetable gardens too?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't see it.
Yeah. No, you don't. If it's, I don't know. It can happen if you have a vegetable garden that just never dries out properly.
Okay.
But most vegetable gardens are better. People are smart enough to not plant them in a wet area that's really wet all the time.
Right. That's just like a marsh.
Yeah.
Well, and with a vegetable garden, you can add compost, and you're kind of working it. You have it doesn't, and like what happens around here with like some of the oak trees and that as they mature, or river birch, we see it in some of those as they get down into the deeper subsoil, they end up, there's in some areas of Fond du Lac County, let's just say, you get into a gravelly limestone subsoil, and their roots are reaching down into that as they kind of grow through the topsoil. When they're younger, the tree is fine, but typically when you're planting a tree, you're not digging down 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 feet to see what's all down there.
Right.
And a lot of times as you get deeper, you'll find more of that.
So we've been sprinkling our ashes from our wood stove around it, through the winter, a little bit here and there. And I haven't, around our river birch, and I haven't noticed any yellowing this year yet.
Well, some of those, again, and you can, even anything that has, if it's like, typically if it would be more like a oak, oaks would be ash. The ash from burnt oaks would have more higher acid content, or even something as simple as like coffee grounds. You could work that in around. Again, coffee is acidic. You could actually use if you have leftover some Diet Pepsi, Diet Coke from from last year that you found on the corner of your garage, that's acidic also, and you could actually pour that on your azaleas. And it'd be better not to put it on their leaves, but and use it in limited form. I don't know if they would want a whole 12-pack. But again, it's a acid, and it lowers the soil pH.
Yeah.
Does it have to be caffeine free?
So I don't know if Diet Pepsi is better than regular Coke or what.
Like, man, my plants are growing really, really fast. Yeah, that's the caffeine.
They wake up a little earlier in the morning.
They're
and
up a little
start
earlier, a little
growing.
perkier. Yeah.
Oh boy, we're getting
Silly.
bad.
Yes, we are. I'll tell you what, that's a good
time for a break.
I said, exactly. You read my mind, Ron. It's time for a break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
So Rademann's is open today until noon, Monday through Friday until 4:30. You can give us a call at 920-922-7612 and still get a delivery, or stop on out. We're just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, east on County B.
All right, welcome back to the final segment of Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Phone lines are open for any and all of your landscaping and gardening questions, so shoot us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450, or you can quickly shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. Real quick, Patty, so as we discussed earlier, I'm a newbie with tomatoes, and you mentioned on the break that this is a good time to start removing the suckers, right?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means that you generally have one main stem on a tomato plant.
Yep.
And every time there's another branch that comes off, it's going to be a sucker. And you can see I usually leave at least maybe two main stems, the main stem and one sucker that's from forming way at the base. But along the whole stem, you're going to have these, where every leaf axil is, there's going to be a little plant that wants to sprout and grow right at that leaf ax where the leaf and the stem meet on the main stem. And if you keep after those and clip them off, you'll have more tomatoes and less vegetation.
Okay.
Which is what you're wanting.
So when you're cutting that off, is the plant then sending that energy essentially to growing tomatoes instead? Okay.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's going to use it to try and produce more leaves, more new growth before it even and then it won't get a chance to produce. It's too late in the season to get a tomato out of that anyway. So.
Gotcha. So, and this is the time to do it?
This is the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Or even sooner, but if you're not done it yet, this is better do it.
Okay. I've got my afternoon set then.
Yeah.
Or even possibly the morning. Real quick, because I know Ron wants to cover something. Is there anything else then that you'd recommend with tomato plants currently?
Well, the other thing, what to do with them?
Yeah, just especially right now, if there's anything timely.
If they're not mulched, they should have been mulched a long time ago. But it's never too late.
Right.
It's never too late.
Right.
But yeah.
Now, Ron, there was something you wanted to mention due to all the humidity, right?
Well, I was just going to say you have to just be super careful because right now there's a lot of insect pests that are surfacing up, and you have to be super careful if you're spraying any insecticide or any weed killer for that matter too, just under these high humid conditions and high temperature conditions. So, just be alert to that here going forward here in the next week or two.
Okay, excellent. Tell you what, we have some callers calling in, so we'll turn to the phone lines. You're on with Ron and Patty on Landscape Smart. Go ahead with your name and question.
Thank you. I have hydrangeas that are really healthy looking, but they don't give a lot of blooms. And then I have other ones that I purchase as blue, and they turn pink when I plant them. And I've been trying to turn them back blue with acid, and I'm not having a whole lot of success.
Well, I found that those ones that were bred to be blue, they don't want to be blue in our soil. So I just leave them be natural pink. You're messing up the flower production a little bit when you try and change that soil into the right pH. I think it doesn't want to flower as much then, and I'd rather have pink than nothing, one or two blue flowers that don't even look real blue because of our soil. So
there's better varieties too now of those. In the original, like Endless Summer, isn't really the, they've kind of taken that and they've taken it to the next level. And some of like Twist and Shout seems to be better, and Bloomstruck, they still have like the Endless Summer, but it's more of like a second or third generation. Mm-hmm. And some of those are going to maintain that blue better. And so if you've got, one of the original Endless Summers, and of course what happens too at some garden centers, they discount the older varieties before they discount the newer varieties. And so you kind of get tempted into, you think, well, an apple's an apple, but there's a reason why some of them aren't on special, or they're selling out quicker, and the older varieties are left behind. Mm-hmm. So you might have to try, one of these newer varieties. And there's, out at Rademann's, we've got a product. It's a Fertilome product. It's water soluble, and it's specifically for that. And you mix it up with water, and water, use it regularly. And that doesn't mean every day. It just means every 2 weeks even is often enough. And you aren't going to turn a pink blossom blue, but the new ones that you'll get. And again, that's a fertilizer, but it lowers the soil pH. It adds sulfur, like we touched on earlier. And it works. You just have to be diligent about it. And you have to, gradually get your soil back to that. And are you in full sun, or what's it like there?
I have some around my garage that wrap around my garage, and they bloom just fine. They're on the east side and a little bit on the north side. And they seem to be blooming fine.
Yeah.
The ones that don't want to bloom are on the north side of another building, and they bloom on the far east end. Yeah. But the rest of them just kind of hide, have one or two blooms.
They need more sun. That's their problem.
Might be a little too shady then. Yeah. And when we say shade loving, that doesn't mean they love shade all 24 hours a day.
Need a little sun.
They still need a little sun, and the east side is like ideal, because then you get 8 or 10 hours of but you don't get the hot late afternoon sun, because once it comes around.
So you have to move those.
But the ones that are on the north end of a building actually get lots of sun in the morning. They're getting the east sun, and then they're getting the afternoon sun in the afternoon. So they look extremely healthy. Uh-huh. It's just that they're not much into the blooms.
Yep, might have to just wait it out because they're growing well. All right, we're going to have to shut you down. So call us back again next Saturday, same time, same place, same bat channel.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for the call, though. Bye. Don't go anywhere, folks. Ron, Patty, thank you so much, as always. Have a wonderful weekend. Don't go anywhere, folks, as the Jerry and Karen Schneider Poker Show will be coming up right here on 1450 KFIZ and 107.1 The Bowl.